Hello guys, welcome back to another video. So today's video is going to be a little bit different from what I usually upload, but I thought that there was very scarce content on the internet on how to create a good looking hanger for Explain 11 or 12. So in this video I am going to be guiding you through what I think would be the ideal process to do that. So yeah, let's go ahead and hop right into it. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to download Blender, which is the 3D software that we're going to be using to model the hanger and to export it to Explain Object Date format. And so the first thing, of course, let's go ahead and download Blender. The latest version is 3.5, which I am not 100% sure it works with the installer. I'm going to go ahead and check that out right now. But the version that I have installed right now is 3.4, so if you have a Mac, it will also work. If you have Linux, it should also work. All you have to do is just run through this installer. Let's go ahead and click next, accept, next, just install that. And just wait for that to finish. And once that's done, just click on finish. It's going to be probably on here recently added. If you're on Windows, or maybe if you're on Mac, you have to check your Launchpad and then applications or something like that, and then Blender should be installed. And so right after that, we are going to go ahead and install Explain to Blender, which is what we need to export Blender models to Explain Object Date format. And all you have to do is simply just head over to this GitHub link, which I'll probably link in the description, and then just scroll down to where it says automatic installation, and then just click on the releases page. And then this is the latest Blender version from says February 27th. And so let's go ahead and download that. Alright, and so next thing we should do is just go ahead and open up Blender. So let's open Blender 3.5, and here it is. Your screen should probably look like this because it's new. Just leave all of this at default, and I'm going to go ahead and load up my 3.4 settings. In your case, it's going to say next or something, but after that, you should pretty much be all set. It's going to pop up with a splash screen, which I'll show you right now. And it's going to look like that. Just press general, and you should get a screen that looks like this. So yeah, once you've loaded up into Blender, just head over to Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, and then just click on Install. Just navigate to wherever you downloaded the latest version of Explain to Blender version. Just click on Install Add-on. That didn't show, just go ahead and look it up, Explain, and then you should see this import export Explain object unchecked. Just go ahead and check it, and then go down here, these 3 bars, save preferences. So now you should be good to go. And yeah, from that point on, we are pretty much all set to start. But I would say that if you're a complete beginner to Blender, I'm going to try my best to kind of explain everything as I go, but I suggest maybe you start watching a video that I'll link in the description. I think it should go over all the basic keys and shortcuts and functions and all that stuff. So I'll link that. Maybe you should watch that. If you don't want to watch it, it's fine, but I would recommend doing that just to kind of get familiar with the UI and stuff like that. Before we actually model anything, I would like to say that it is very important that we first do some reference research. So right here I have Google Maps and Google Earth, and both of them are for research purposes. And what do I mean by that? We need references to actually model a hangar. And in this case, this is actually my local airport. So if I just take a look here, this is the hangar that I chose for today's tutorial since it's pretty simple. And so the advantage of Google Earth is that this imagery is way more updated than this imagery. Like this imagery right here is super outdated. But the advantage is that we have models with Google Earth. So Google Earth advantages are that it has the 3D view, and you can just kind of look around and you have more angles of the building, whereas Google Earth does not. However, Google Earth's imagery is more updated, and as a plus, you also have street view. So if we just drop the man right there, you can see this is pretty updated, July 2022. And if you just look around here, you can see this is the exact hangar that we're looking at right here, but this is just kind of a better angle of the the nitty-gritty details on it. So yeah, let's go ahead and start doing some measurements before we model. So let's go ahead and grab our measure tool, and I already measured this before, but it is 32, whoops, 30, it says 33, but I think it's 32 by 32. That's what we're going to be using. So 32 wide, 32 long for this hanger, so it's going to be like a perfect square. So we just head back into Blender, press A, that's delete, and let me just go ahead and enable my screencast keys, and just kind of, yeah, there we go. On the bottom left, you should see my screencast keys, so every key I press, you should see exactly how many times and what I'm pressing. So let's go ahead and go Shift A, add a cube, and right now it's half buried in the ground. So if we just press 1 on our numpad, and if you don't have a numpad, just press on this -y icon right here on your gizmo, and then press G, Z, and then Control, and let's just move this up. Make sure you're holding Control though, just to snap it right on the floor. Right after that, we're going to hit N, and then we're going to go to the item tab, and then in dimensions here it all says 2, 2, 2, so it's 2 by 2 by 2 cube. We're going to change the X and Y to 32, so we're just going to go ahead and type 32 for both. Or what you could have also done is just press the X and then just brought this down, like dragged it down so that it highlighted the X and Y, and then just type 32. That's a faster way to do it. That's usually how I do it. And so after that, we're going to press Control A, and we're going to apply all transforms so that Blender knows how our cube looks like now. So our scale should be all uniform. So in edit mode, which you can go to by pressing tab, you have 3 different modes for selection. You have vertex, which is just 1 on your regular keyboard, edge, which is 2, face, which is 3. So let's go ahead and select this top face by pressing 3 and then selecting it. And if you can't select it, just make sure that you are in face select mode. Just press 3 once again and then select it, and then go up here to this transform panel, and right here where it says the Z, it's 2 meters, meaning this face is 2 meters above the origin. You're just going to change this to 4. I think 4 is good. Maybe from what I see here, seems to be pretty decent. Kind of have to improvise and make some educated guesses. So now what we're going to do is select this face and then press Shift H to isolate it from everything else. And now we're just going to go ahead and press Control R and then double click to do a loop cut right straight down the center of this face. Now what we're going to do is press G, Z, and then 1.5 with this edge selected. And if it's not selected, make sure you press 2 to go into edge select mode, select the edge, and then press G, Z, 1.5. There we go. And that moved it up by 1.5. So yeah, let's go ahead and press Alt H to unhide everything else. And as you can see, we kind of have the basic shape of the hanger. Now, first of all, let's go ahead and delete this bottom face by pressing the face, selecting the face, obviously, pressing 3, and then right clicking, delete faces. And then we can just, yeah, because we're never going to need the bottom face. Nobody is ever going to see it, so it's kind of unnecessary. So what we have to do now is we kind of have to make that front hanger door right here. This edge right here has a vertex that is intersecting directly with this face, and that makes it an n-gon. So in 3D, there's triangles, which are 3-sided polygons. There's quads, which are 4-sided polygons, and there's n-gons, which are 5 or more. And the disadvantage with that is that you can't loop cut on them because there's intersecting vertices on the face. So to fix that, basically what you can do is just select this face by pressing 3 and then selecting it, and then go ahead and right click, delete it, and then go into edge select mode by pressing 2, and then select these 2 top edges by pressing 1 and then shift clicking the other one, and then pressing F on your keyboard. And that should fill in a triangle right here. So what this has done is it's basically opened up the opportunity to select these other 2. So I'm going to go ahead and shift select these 2 on both sides, and then press F, and that should fill it in. And what this has done, it's basically split that Hangar in half. So there's a triangle and there's a quad, and the advantage of this is that on the quad we can actually loop cut and mess around and do whatever we want. However, I think there's actually a faster method for this, and it's you can just select these two vertices. If you go into vertex select mode, which is by pressing 1 on your keyboard, just select these two and then press J to join, and that should do the same thing. Okay, so what do we do now? How do we make this door? Now, it's pretty simple actually. What we have to do is simply go ahead and select this face by pressing 3 and then face select mode, and then selecting it and then Shift H to isolate it. And then what we're going to do is just going to press this -Y, and we're going to go ahead and make a loop cut across with Control R and then double click to make sure it's straight on the center. If you accidentally loop cut and then moved it like that, just make sure you go down to this menu. Don't click anywhere, just go down to this menu and then change the factor to 0, and that should center it again. So there is actually several ways of making a door, but I think this is the best one just because of how efficient it is and how much better it actually makes things. So make sure you're in 2D view and select the -Y, and what we're going to do is we're going to press Control B, and we're just going to move our mouse out like that. Now I'm going to snap it like somewhere around here. And if you don't click anywhere, you should still see this menu down here, and this is the bevel menu. So what we can do here is we can actually change the width just by adjusting this value slider. And what we're going to do is we're just going to type in 10 for the width. Maybe I think that's pretty good based on what I see here. Maybe we need a little more, I'm not sure, but I think we'll just go with that for now. And so yeah, we have the basic outline of the door, but how do we actually like make it go inward? To do that, we need to extrude it inward, and for that you just press E, and then you can just move your mouse back like that, and you should extrude it. And that could technically that would technically do it, but a better method is, I think, you can press E and then -0.1. So by typing a value, a very specific value of 0.1 for our extrusion, we're basically we already know, like, you know, how thick this thing is. So what can we do now? So once we've done that, just make sure you go into face select mode by pressing 3, and then make sure you select this bottom face right here, right click, delete faces, you don't need it. And yeah, that should be all for the front. So now we have to work on the sides. So right here, if you just kind of pan around, you can use your middle mouse button to pan around. You'll notice that there is kind of like a door all the way back there. So what we can do is we can make that door by selecting this face. Make sure you press 3, go into face select mode, select that face, Shift H to isolate it. And since there are no vertices directly intersecting with the face, we can loop cut. So yeah, anyway, just make sure you press this -X right here just to head into this 2D view. And once you've done that, just make sure you press Control R and then just just click once, and then you can kind of slide this around. We're gonna place it like right here. So let's go ahead and click again to confirm. And as for the thickness of the door, I think 50 centimeters is pretty good for a door that has the top of the frame at around 2 meters. So we're just gonna do that. All right, so let's go ahead and press Control B and then 0.5, just like that. And then you should see we kind of have the two edges of the door. And we can, since there's no other doors we have to make, we can just Shift H on this face again, and we can press Control R once again, and then double click this time. And if you click on this edge, you can see that it says 2 meters up here on the transform panel. Now, if you accidentally moved it up or down or something like that, you can obviously go here to the loop cut and slide panel. If you don't click anywhere else, you just press this factor thing, and that should bring it back to let's go ahead and do the same extrusion method for this face, and I think that 2 centimeters is just about right for the doors. Maybe you want to go thicker if you have another preference, that's totally fine, but we're going to do 2 centimeters for the thickness of that door. So let's go ahead and do E minus 0.2, wait no, E minus 0.02, there we go. And that is about 2 centimeters, which should push it back just about enough. Make sure you go into face select mode once again by pressing 3, select this bottom face, right click, delete faces, or you could also do ETS and then just select faces, and that would do the same thing. Now, we're not really going to work on the door handles and stuff, but if you want to go ahead and do that, sure, by all means, go ahead, but it's not necessary. Now, if let's go ahead and do the same thing for this back face right here. Select these two vertices on both edges, press J to join, and now you've split these two in half, and you can loop cut on them just in case you want to do that. So yeah, let's go ahead and head over to the last side. I'm pretty sure there's nothing back there, maybe some like pipes or whatever, but we're trying to keep it a little bit more simple just for now. So right here you can see there's like two kind of like cargo doors, and there's one last one over there, and we can confirm that by looking at the Street View reference. So yeah, Street View is super useful because Google Earth is probably going to be like extremely bright sometimes, and the saturation colors are probably going to be off, but if you just check Google Street View, you can kind of notice the details a little bit better. So yeah, let's go ahead and make that door first. So let's head back into Blender. Let's go ahead and select this face, Shift H to isolate it, and then press the ETS right here on the gizmo, and that's going to take you to this 2D view. Now let's press Control R, press just click once, and then just bring it all the way over here. I think this is okay. Now we're going to do Control B, 0.5 once again. We want this to be about 50 centimeters wide. That's pretty much the perfect amount. And we're not going to do the loop cut yet, because remember the whole engons thing. Let's go ahead and Alt H to unhide. You can see there's a vertex that is intersecting directly with this face. That's not going to do you any good, so we're going to leave it like that for now, and we're going to work on getting those other two. Let's go ahead and do one loop cut here, Control R, do another one like here maybe. Alright, and so let's go ahead and select both, so shift click both of them, and then just press Control B, and kind of, let's see, let's try to guess maybe 0.85, I'm not really sure, 0.8. I think that's a good width. And now let's go ahead and press Alt H, and now we can unhide, and let's go ahead and select these three faces, the one for the door and the one for the two other cargo doors, and let's go ahead and Control R. As you can see, this is 2.01626. Now let's just go ahead and change that to 2, just so that it's exactly at 2. And let's do 2 more loop cuts on both of these. And I think that on this building, actually, these are actually the top edge is higher than this, so we can just bring it up by just shift selecting them, and then change the Z value to something like 2.5, and I think that is decent enough. So yeah, let's go ahead and press Alt H to unhide everything, and now let's bring these in. So first let's start with the door. We can simply do E minus 0.02, it's 2 centimeters, and make sure you go into face select mode, select that bottom face, right click, delete faces. Alright, and for this one, I am not sure, this kind of looks like it has a boundary around it or something, so we can try to replicate that. It doesn't seem to be that way from this Google Street View thing, but I'm going to teach you how to do it anyways. So how do we do the boundary and extrude a boundary around these two faces? Well, it's pretty simple. All you have to do is inset these two faces. So let's go ahead and press I, and as you can see, it's kind of creating that boundary around our face, and that's exactly what we want. But there's one problem, and it's, as you can see from that bottom edge, we want that to be on the ground. So let's go ahead and press B, like just B on your keyboard to get rid of that boundary, and just go ahead and click once again to confirm. And if you take a look at the inset faces panel, just change that thickness to probably something like 0.1. I think that would be good. And now we're gonna extrude this by B minus 0.05, so 0.05, as you can see here. And we're gonna go into face select mode, select these two faces, right click, delete faces, and let's say you wanted to extrude these out. Let's go ahead and shift select them, all of the faces. Make sure you're in face select mode to do that. And now we're going to extrude them E.01. Okay, so that's E0.01, and they are extruded out a bit. So yeah, that's just in case you wanted to do that. There is actually one more detail I would like to add. Besides those things at the top, we're gonna add those things at the top towards the end, but there's also the lights. There's two on each end here, and there's one on top of each door, and that is basically it. Select the object, tab into edit mode, Shift A, sorry, add a cube, and then just go ahead and press GX to move it on the X axis. And this is going to be a really simple model of a light. We're just going to select this edge, Control B to bevel it. Okay, let's bring this up. So 3 to go into face select mode, GZ to bring this up, and yeah, that looks fine. So how do we add that to the model? Hover over this, press L, and that's going to select all of the linked faces with this model. Just keep in mind that this only works for vertices that are connected to each other. So if you press L over this, it's not going to select this model because none of these vertices are connected to this model. Go into this 2D view, so just press X and then press S to scale it down, GZ, kind of move it up, GY. It's not a very good light model, but I guess it's decent enough to get us there. GX, kind of move it in, and this is, I think this is way too big. Let's go ahead and scale that down a bit and move this inward a little more. So let's go ahead and delete this back face since nobody's going to see it, making sure we keep our model optimized. And I guess this is okay. Maybe if you want, you can scale it down or up and move it around however you please, but I guess I'll keep that. Alright, so let's go into 2D view and make sure that you hover over this specifically, press L, Shift D, and then press X after that, or wait, actually Y, to move it on the Y axis, and there it is. Alright, it depends on which is your horizontal axis for this corresponding model. Let's go ahead and press Shift D, Y once again, and let's move this out like that, and I'll zoom in, press R, Z minus 90. That's the one we should use. And maybe this is a little bit small. Let's go ahead and scale it up just a bit, and just kind of move that back until it's basically just kind of inward there, and just move it up like that, GX and GZ to position it where I want it. And I'm gonna go ahead and press this negative Y on the gizmo, Shift D, X, move it out, and I think that looks pretty good. And yeah, for the top things, which are, they seem to be like tube things, you would simply just go into edit mode and then Shift A, and then just press cylinder, select the cylinder, and maybe just scale it down or something. I don't know. Select this top face and then GZ to move it up, and then go ahead and add a loop cut and then move it up here. And now make sure you are selecting one of these edges, like hovering over one of the edges. Make sure you're in face select mode, press Alt and then click on it, and that's going to select an edge, well, a face loop. And then after that, just press Alt E. It should face along normals, and just move this out a little bit, like that. And I think that looks fine. Just go ahead and right click shade auto smooth, just so that looks decent. And let's go ahead and L, make sure you're hovering over the mesh, press L, scale this down a little bit. I think the bottom face is still there, so let's go ahead and get rid of it. Go into face select mode by pressing 3, right click, delete faces, and yeah. Press L over it once again to hover over it, GZ, GX to move it along the Z and Y, X axis. And I think it is pretty small. I guess I'll leave it like that. And I wonder if there's one at the top as well. Yeah, there is. Okay, so just Shift D. Make sure you press -Y. Shift Z to go into wireframe view. So let me break it down. -Y to go into the 2D view, and then Shift Z to go into a wireframe in order to see, below the roof. And then press Shift D, and then X. And then just kind of move this out like that, making sure that the bottom is still like half buried into the roof. Shift Z again to go back into solid view, and I think this looks pretty decent. Go into edit mode by pressing tab, and then make sure you go into edge select mode by pressing 2, and then make sure you shift select all of the edges around the outline of the roof. Make sure you just go ahead and do that. Make sure you don't miss a single edge. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to press Shift D, and you're going to kind of get this hovering edge outline looking thing, but what you're going to do is right click so that it stays in place. Then don't click anywhere else, just press P, separate by selection. And if you take a look at your outliner right here on the top right, you see there's 2 cubes now. Select that cube, tab to go into edit mode, and then press 1 to see the vertices, so you're in vertex select mode, and then press the Z right here to go into top view. And what we're going to do is, you can see there's like a bunch of these vertices that we don't need. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of draw dots like that around. And we're going to go ahead and make sure that all of them are selected. Obviously making sure that you haven't selected any of the boundary vertices, because we do need those. And then just right click, dissolve vertices, and you are pretty much good to go. You've optimized that. And one last thing is just select these 2 middle boundary vertices. Make sure you press F, and that should fill them in. So now you have a pretty good outline of the roof. We're going to press Control A, all transforms, and now we're going to right click, convert to curve. So now it's a curve. And what we're going to do is go down here to this green tab here called object data properties, but for the curve, it's kind of going to look like a little curve lash thing. And just there's going to be a lot of tabs, all right? So you're just going to want to click on the geometry tab. And then from all this, you don't have to mess with all of these settings. Just have to change the resolution to 2. You can press this arrow to go back to 2, and then change the depth to maybe, let's try 0.1. And I think that looks pretty good. So you can see we kind of made some gutters on the roof to kind of make that look a little bit better. Go ahead and right click on the object once again, convert to, and then select mesh. And then make sure that once you've done that, select your gutter, and then shift select your hanger. And what you're going to do after that is you're going to press Control J, and you're going to join them. That's how they're going to join together. And now the gutter and the mesh and the cube, the hanger mesh should be one mesh altogether. So yeah, that should cover pretty much everything related to the modeling of this hanger. In the next video, I am going to be texturing it, but for now, we're going to go ahead and leave it at that. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching once again. If you guys like this video, please feel free to comment down below. And if you guys think my pace was too fast, maybe I personally think I was kind of going fast, just let me know. I would definitely love to hear your suggestions to kind of improve on my tutorials and how I can make them more comprehensible and easier to follow for you guys. So yeah, thank you once again for watching, and I hope this was useful to you. Bye bye.